We're going to be diving into all of the basics of watches to hopefully get you a gentle introduction to the hobby. If you're a beginner to watches, great, I am too. But I do know all of the basics, so hopefully I can speak in a similar language to make it easy for you to understand this daunting hobby. Super quick, let's do the anatomy of a watch. Case. The metal body that houses the movement in the dial. Lugs. The four horns that extend from the case to hold the strap or bracelet. When you see the diameter of a watch, it's usually measuring the case diameter, but what actually determines the fit better is the lug-to-lug distance. Strap versus bracelet. A bracelet is metal links chained together. A strap is any other kind of flexible non-metal. Do not call them a band. I cannot emphasize this enough. Dial. This is the face of the watch. Usually can have some kind of branding on it and will include the markers. And markers are what you use to actually read the watch and tell the time. These can be applied, meaning raised metal, or printed, flat on the dial. Crystal is the transparent cover over the dial, and it can be a fancy sapphire or a mineral or just some kind of acrylic. Doesn't matter if it's made of crystal, this is just called the crystal. Bezel is the ring surrounding the crystal. Crown is the winding or setting knob on the side of the case. Case back, the rear of the case, this is either solid or exhibition, where exhibition just means it's clear and shows the movement. The movement is the engine of the watch. It can either be automatic, which means it's a mechanical movement wound by a rotor spinning with wrist motion, or it can be a manual wind, which is a mechanical movement wound by hand via the crown. The other movement is quartz. A quartz movement works by attaching a battery to a quartz crystal, which causes the crystal to oscillate at a very specific frequency, and that is used to keep the time of the watch. Those are the basics, and pretty much every single watch you run into will have these, but from here is where it pans out a little bit, and we don't need to get too lost in the weeds, but I'll mention a few. Complications. This is the function the watch has beyond hours, minutes, and seconds, because it makes it more complicated. For example, you could have a date window that tracks the current date. This is a complication. Or one that comes up a lot as a chronograph, which is just a watch that can also function as a stopwatch. Nice, we're through the anatomy. Now let's dive into the big stuff. The first question worth asking is why? We all carry a phone around and a phone tells the time just as well as a watch does. Yep, correct. Phone actually tells the time better, and that's the first thing to acknowledge. Watches are not about function anymore. They're about being cool. Like, there are definitely cool functions, but none of them are going to function better than your phone. The one advantage that a watch absolutely has, though, is not having to pull your phone out every time you want to check the time. Because every time you look at your phone, you aren't just looking at your phone. You're opening up a world of notifications to absolutely derail you from whatever task you were currently on. That is one of the reasons I originally got interested in traditional watches, because I've worn a watch for years, but a smartwatch. The beauty of a smartwatch is that I can track all of my health stats 24/7 and I get notifications on my wrist. The downside is that my notifications are now strapped to my wrist, which is awesome when I want to stay on top of things, but it's horrible when I want to focus on something. So what makes a watch cool? Well, this is super subjective, but the one thing that seems to be generally agreed upon is that a watch being expensive does not automatically make it cool. But the things that do make a watch cool can vary person to person. For example, if I got a watch passed down from my grandpa, that has sentimental value and that makes it really cool to me and garbage to you. Or another thing that I really like is when a watch has history. Like, one thing I alluded to was the Quartz Crisis, which was basically when Seiko released the first commercial quartz in 1969, and it almost took down the entire Swiss watch industry, which before that had like 50% of the global watch market. That makes the Seiko Astron a really cool watch to me. Or the first people to summit Mount Everest were both wearing Rolexes. That's really cool. Or the fact that Buzz Aldrin was wearing an Omega Speedmaster Professional when he was on the moon. Or maybe you just like Star Wars. The beauty is that it doesn't really matter what your reason is. If you think it's cool, then it's a cool watch. There are going to be some objective measures like accuracy and quality, but when it really comes down to it, watches are a personal thing. They're a chance to express yourself. So if you find a watch that nobody else thinks is cool, but something about it speaks to you, then that is a cool watch. So really, just don't overthink it. Find one you like, wear it, and enjoy it.